The house was warm. That was the cruelest part. Warm light spilled from the dining room. Plates touched wood. Chairs moved. Soft voices blended with the quiet sounds of a family that knew how to love each other when it wanted to. The scent of miso and grilled fish drifted through the hallway in gentle waves, reaching the small figure standing barefoot in the dark like a promise never meant for him. Naruto stood just outside the door, his fingers curled at his sides, his face unreadable. Inside, laughter rose. His mother smiled at Menma. His father rested a hand on Naruto's shoulder. The twins were speaking at once, excited, loud, alive, and both of their parents listened like every word they said mattered. Naruto waited. He had learned patience the way wounded animals learn silence. Not because they wanted to. Because nothing good came from being noticed at the wrong time. A bowl had been set at the far edge of the table. Small. Empty. Forgotten until the last possible moment. It was always like that. Not enough to look like abuse. Not enough to make a stranger stop and ask questions. Just enough to carve something out of him, piece by piece, until even the ache had become familiar. Naruto, Kushina called without looking at him. If you're standing there, then sit down. Don't make it awkward. He stepped forward. Minato glanced up for half a second, then back to Menma, who was proudly explaining a new shuriken trick. Naruto sat. No one asked where he had been. No one asked why there was dirt on his sleeve, or why his knuckles were bruised, or why there was a fresh cut near his collar. Naruto looked at the food. There wasn't much left. He took what remained without complaint. That was the only thing they consistently praised about him. He was easy. Easy to ignore. Easy to postpone. Easy to leave for later. And later, Naruto had learned, was where forgotten things went to die. I'm taking Menma to the training grounds tomorrow, Minato said, pride bright in his voice. His chakra control is improving fast. And Naruto's seals are getting better too, Kushina added with a grin. She gets that from me. Naruto ate in silence. Their words moved around him like he wasn't there. Menma laughed. Maybe one day Nai-san will train too. The room fell quiet for a fraction of a second. A tiny thing. A normal person might not have noticed it. Naruto noticed everything. Kushina cleared her throat. Naruto's different. Minato's voice turned careful, which somehow hurt more than sharpness ever could. He doesn't have the same natural disposition. It's better if he focuses on what suits him. What suits him? A sentence polished enough to sound kind. A sentence empty enough to hide the truth inside it. Naruto lowered his gaze and kept eating. Naruto didn't even look at him. He barely talks anyway. The twins laughed softly. Not cruelly. That was the worst part too. They weren't monsters. They just never needed him enough to care. Something behind Naruto's ribs tightened, then settled into the old cold shape it always became. He finished his meal first. No one noticed. He stood. Kushina waved a hand. Put your bowl away. Naruto did. Then he walked down the hallway, past the living room, past the stairs, past the family pictures hanging on the wall. In some of them, he wasn't there at all. In the others, he stood at the edge of the frame, slightly blurred, like reality itself hadn't been fully convinced he belonged. He opened the door to his room. Small. Clean. Silent. A window facing the back of the house where no one ever looked. He closed the door behind him and sat on the floor. No tears. He had cried when he was younger. Once. Twice. Maybe 100 times. Then one day he had realized something important. Pain was loud. Cold was useful. So he became cold. Outside, the village slept under a sky the color of old iron. Inside Naruto's room, the air changed. At first, it was subtle. A pressure. A distortion. The candle flame on his desk bent sideways though the windows were shut. The shadows in the corners stretched too far, then snapped back into place. The wooden floor beneath him gave a tiny cracking sound, not from force, but from something stranger, as if the space touching it had briefly forgotten how to remain stable. Naruto's eyes lifted slowly. He felt it then. Not chakra. Not like the academy textbooks described. This was quieter. Deeper. A thing beyond movement. Beyond heat. Beyond life. It felt like the moment before something ended. The room darkened. No, not darkened. The light simply stopped mattering. A voice spoke inside his mind. Report. Naruto did not flinch. Most children would have screamed. He only listened. Report. Host consciousness stable. Emotional suppression threshold exceeded. Synchronization conditions fulfilled. Authority recognized. His expression did not change, but something in him went still in a way it had never been before. Who are you? He asked softly. The voice answered immediately. Designation unnecessary. Function acknowledged. I am the boundary that ends all things. Naruto stared at the wall ahead. The voice was neither male nor female. It had no emotion. No rhythm. No breath between words. It was not a person talking. It was a verdict given form. Why me? Pause. Then. Because you understand absence. The candle went out. Naruto sat in total darkness, and for the first time in his life, the silence around him did not feel empty. It felt obedient. Analysis complete. Core authority detected. Conceptual termination available in dormant state. Naruto's gaze shifted to the spider crawling near the corner of the ceiling. Tiny. Harmless. Alive. Conceptual termination, he repeated. Demonstration recommended. Naruto looked at the spider. He didn't move. Didn't raise a hand. Didn't speak a command. He only thought one thing. Stop. The spider vanished. Not burst. Not fell. Not died in any normal sense. One instant it existed. The next instant reality behaved as though continuing its existence was no longer permitted. Naruto's eyes narrowed a fraction. The wall behind the spider remained untouched. No stain. No crack. No sign. Just absence. His breathing stayed even, but deep inside, something ancient and starved uncurled. What did I just do? Instant death, the voice replied. The simplest expression of final authority. Target designation. End acknowledged. Existence revoked. Naruto rose to his feet. The temperature in the room dropped. He held out his hand and looked at his palm. Small. Human. Ordinary. Yet now he understood something terrifying. Ordinary things could carry impossible endings. He turned his gaze toward the old plant on the windowsill, the one he had forgotten to water for days. It was still barely alive. Leaves curled. Stem weak. He focused. End. The plant crumbled into fine gray dust without sound. No decay. No transition. No dying process. Just a conclusion. Naruto watched the dust settle. His face remained calm. But inside him, a hollow place where years of neglect had lived began filling with something else. Not happiness. Not hope. Control. Optimization available, the voice said. Current host output minimal. Safety restrictions active. Recommended, testing, concealment, observation. Naruto nodded once. Then he asked the question that mattered most. Can it kill anyone? Yes. The answer came with such absolute certainty that the room seemed to tighten around it. Naruto was quiet for a long moment. From downstairs, laughter rose again. Warm, distant, careless. He looked toward the floor, toward the ceiling, toward the life moving through the house above and below him. Then he said, almost idly, "Can it kill ideas?" Pause. Then. With growth. Can it kill jutsu? With growth. Can it kill pain? The silence this time lasted longer. Then. Pain may be ended. Memory may remain. Naruto let that settle. Interesting. Not comforting. Just interesting. He sat back down on the floor and crossed his legs. Then we start small. Acknowledged. Outside his window, clouds slid across the moon, and for the first time since he had been born into a house full of people who never really saw him, Naruto smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile the night itself might wear just before a village disappeared. The next morning, nothing changed. That was useful. People believed power announced itself with noise, arrogance, light, or heat. Real power often arrived quietly and let the world expose its weaknesses first. Naruto woke before dawn, dressed in plain clothes, and moved through the house without sound. He stepped around floorboards he knew would creak, past the kitchen, and paused just long enough to hear voices outside. Minato was already in the yard. Menma and Naruto stood before him, sleepy but eager, while Kushina adjusted Naruto's jacket and smiled the way only mothers who were fully present could smile. Naruto watched from the hallway. Menma yawned. "Do we have to start this early? You want to get stronger or not?" Kushina asked, flicking his forehead. Naruto grinned. "I'm already stronger than him." "In your dreams," Menma shot back. Minato laughed. Naruto turned away. He opened the front door and left before any of them realized he had been there. The village was still half asleep, wrapped in the pale blue hush that came just before sunrise. Shopkeepers were setting up. Birds moved along rooftops. Somewhere in the distance, metal struck metal from an early blacksmith's forge. Naruto walked with his hands in his pockets, expression blank, mind active. "Report," he thought. "Status," the voice replied. "Instant death authority active at basic level. Range, line of perception. Resistance factors, unknown. Advanced termination modes, locked. Concept reach, limited. Detection risk, low if used without witnesses." Naruto kept walking. "Can I kill chakra? Eventually. Can I kill someone's eyesight? Eventually. Can I kill their ability to lie? Eventually." He stopped at the edge of an alley. That answer interested him more than he expected. A drunk man was sleeping against a wall nearby, muttering to himself. A stray dog circled a pile of trash. A cat perched on a fence, one ear torn, watching the world with the patient boredom of creatures that understood survival better than humans did. Naruto crouched and picked up a pebble. He tossed it lightly toward a rusted tin can lying near the gutter. The pebble struck. Clink. Nothing special. Naruto looked at the can. "Can I end motion?" "Yes." The can rolled slowly from the impact. Naruto focused. "Stop." The can froze in the middle of a wobble, unnaturally still, like time had gripped it by the throat. Naruto's eyes sharpened. Then the stillness broke, and the can dropped flat. Not bad. A system of death and boundaries. No hand signs. No seals. No chakra molding. No visible tell. Absurd. Perfect. He moved deeper into the village until he reached a training lot long abandoned by respectable shinobi. Broken fence. Cracked posts. Old target boards rotting in place. No one important came here. Naruto stepped into the center of the clearing. The first rays of sunlight touched the dirt. "Begin full testing," he said. Acknowledged. Naruto picked a target post. "End the wood." The post collapsed into powder from the middle upward, as if the idea of being solid had been removed. He turned to another. And the top half only. It vanished cleanly. The lower half remained standing for one surreal second, then tipped and fell. Naruto's breathing slowed further. Precise. Very precise. End sound in that space. A bird cried overhead. Then silence swallowed the right side of the clearing. Not normal quiet. Absence. The leaves moved without rustling. Naruto's own feet shifted on dirt without noise. The world there became wrong in a way that made his skin prickle. After 3 seconds, sound returned. Naruto looked thoughtful. Optimization update, the voice said. Host adapting rapidly. New branch available, selective death application. A pulse of cold spread behind Naruto's eyes. Explain. Instead of ending the whole target, selective death allows component termination. Examples: death of motion, death of sight, death of hearing, death of durability, death of pain response, death of regeneration, death of resistance. Naruto stood very still. That wasn't just killing. That was editing reality through endings. His lips parted slightly. Again. He spent the next 2 hours testing limits. A rock lost its hardness and shattered in his hand like dry bread. A puddle lost its reflection and became black, flat, depthless until the effect faded. A branch lost its balance and fell though there was no wind. A broken kunai lost its edge entirely, becoming as harmless as dull tin. Each use brought a faint pressure at the base of Naruto's skull, but no exhaustion like chakra drain. This power felt less like spending energy and more like issuing permission. Or denial. He stood over a patch of grass and whispered, "End life." Every blade in a perfect circle turned gray and folded. He looked at a single weed growing through stone. End growth. The weed remained alive, but stopped changing altogether, frozen in a permanent state of almost. His eyes flicked upward. Interesting. Very interesting. Then footsteps. 3 academy boys entered from the far side of the clearing. Naruto recognized them instantly. Older than him by a year or 2. Civilian kids with enough village loyalty to hate him and not enough courage to do it alone. When they saw him, their expressions shifted. The tallest sneered. "Look who it is." Naruto said nothing. The second boy laughed. "Practicing by yourself? That's sad." The third spat near Naruto's feet. "Monster." Naruto turned slowly. He had heard it his entire life. Monster. Demon brat. Bad omen. Thing. Normally the words slid off him and joined the cold reservoir inside. Today, he examined them with a new perspective. Words were fragile. People more so. The tallest boy picked up a stick and pointed it like a weapon. "What, not talking? Scared?" Naruto looked at the stick. Then at the boy's hand gripping it. No fear. No anger. Just measurement. He wondered, briefly, what it would look like if he ended the boy's right arm from the elbow down. Would the universe bother with blood? Would it simply conclude that the limb had no further purpose? The thought passed. Not because he couldn't. Because waste bored him. The second boy shoved Naruto's shoulder. It was a mistake. Naruto's head tilted a fraction. The pressure in the clearing changed. The boys felt it immediately. Not consciously. Instinctively. Animals felt storms before they arrived. Humans were no different when death stood too close. The third boy took a half step back. "What?" Naruto looked at the first boy and said quietly, "Drop it." The stick snapped in half. No force. No impact. One moment whole, the next broken. All 3 boys froze. Naruto took 1 step forward. Dust shifted around his sandal. His blue eyes were no longer childish. They were flat and distant, the eyes of someone already standing beyond the edge of normal consequences. "Say it again," he said. No one spoke. He looked at the second boy, the one who had shoved him. "You're hearing." The boy blinked. Then his face changed. He slapped both hands over his ears. I can't." Panic. Raw and immediate. He staggered backward, mouth moving in frightened confusion, unable to hear even his own voice. The other two boys went pale. Naruto watched them with clinical calm. "Report," the voice said. "Selective death successful. Auditory function terminated temporarily. Restoration possible through host intent." "Temporary?" Naruto asked. "Yes. Unless permanent designation is chosen." The tallest boy dropped to his knees. Please stop." Naruto said nothing. He let the silence crush them. Let the wrongness of the morning seep into their bones. Then he looked at the deafened boy and thought, "Restore." Sound rushed back all at once. The boy screamed. Naruto turned and walked away. Behind him, the three boys remained frozen in terror, too shaken to chase, too confused to understand what had happened. That was his first domination. Small. Clean. Invisible to the world. But as Naruto left the abandoned lot, one truth had already settled inside him with absolute certainty. The village thought he was powerless because it had only ever measured strength through what it understood. That was their mistake. By noon, Naruto had a new rule. Never display more than necessary. Power revealed too early invited attention. Attention invited interference. Interference would die eventually, but until then, it was inconvenient. So he attended the academy as usual. He sat in the back. He answered nothing unless directly called on. He let others shine. Irika walked the rows with a clipboard, trying hard as always to be fair to everyone, though fairness in Konoha was a thin blanket thrown over older rot. "Naruto," Irika said, "demonstrate the basic clone technique." Whispers moved instantly through the room. Naruto stood. He walked to the front. He formed the signs poorly on purpose. A pathetic, drooping clone appeared beside him and instantly puffed out. Laughter. Predictable. Naruto lowered his hand and allowed his shoulders to slump just slightly, exactly enough to maintain the image everyone expected. Irika sighed. "You need more practice." Naruto nodded. Inside, the system voice spoke. Analysis. Deception success rate, high. Across the room, Sasuke Uchiha watched him. That was inconvenient. Sasuke was not like the others. He did not laugh. He did not sneer. He simply observed, and in his dark gaze Naruto recognized a similar emptiness shaped by different pain. Interesting. Sakura giggled with Ino. Kiba muttered something rude. Shikamaru looked bored. Hinata, seated near the window, glanced at Naruto for only an instant before lowering her eyes quickly, as though afraid even her sympathy might be seen and punished. Naruto returned to his seat. During weapons practice, he missed 3 targets in a row deliberately. During taijutsu drills, he held back so much it almost annoyed him. Then during lunch break, he sat alone behind the academy building and closed his eyes. A shadow fell over him. Naruto. He opened his eyes. Irika stood there holding a small wrapped rice ball. "I noticed you didn't bring much," Irika said awkwardly. "Take it." Naruto looked at the food, then at Irika's face. Tired eyes. Scar across the nose. Genuine concern buried beneath professional restraint. For a moment, an old instinct stirred. The dangerous instinct to want. Naruto took the rice ball. "Thank you." Irika rubbed the back of his head. "You should try harder in class." Naruto unwrapped the food calmly. "What if trying harder changes nothing?" Irika blinked. Naruto bit into the rice ball. It was warm. That almost made him hate it. Iruka crouched down. You don't know that. Naruto met his gaze. Don't I? Something in the boy's tone made Iruka hesitate. For a second, Naruto's mask slipped not into sadness, but into something much older and colder than a child should have possessed. Iruka felt it. Then it was gone. Naruto looked away. I'll keep that in mind. Iruka rose slowly. Right. Well, don't be late getting back. He walked off. Naruto finished the rice ball in silence. Report, the voice said. Emotional anomaly detected. Naruto's eyes stayed on the dirt below. Explain. Host responded to kindness. Naruto crushed the wrapper in his hand. Noted. He stood and returned to class. But for the rest of the day, one irritating fact remained lodged in his mind. Kindness from strangers hurt more than neglect from family. Because neglect taught distance. Kindness resurrected hunger. That evening, Naruto did not go home immediately. Instead, he crossed the edge of the village and entered the forest. The deeper he went, the quieter the world became. Sunlight thinned beneath the canopy. The smell of moss and bark replaced cooking smoke and iron. Here there were no smiling lies. No framed family pictures. No obligations to pretend he was fine with being less loved. Here, existence was simple. Eat. Hide. Kill. Survive. Naruto liked simple things. He stopped beside a stream and looked at his reflection. Whisker marks. Bright hair. Blue eyes too sharp now for his age. A face everyone thought they understood. He touched the water. Ripples spread. Can you kill contracts? He asked. Yes, with sufficient growth. Can you kill seals? Yes. Can you kill a tailed beast? Silence. Then. Yes. Naruto's hand stilled. The stream continued moving around his fingers. Deep below his skin, behind the cage of flesh and chakra, something ancient shifted. The 9 tails. He had never fully understood what he was to the village, only that adults sometimes stared too long, or moved their children away too quickly, or smiled at him with mouths that never reached their eyes. Monster. Demon. Burden. He had suspected. Now the system's answer confirmed what instinct had long whispered. There was something inside him. And even that, one day, could die. Can it kill me? Naruto asked softly. The voice answered without pause. Yes. Good. He smiled faintly. A power that could not turn on its owner was just another chain. He preferred honest dangers. The forest trembled. Naruto's gaze lifted. 2 men stepped from the trees. Missing Nin, by the look of them. Cheap armor. Scarred faces. The smell of old blood and arrogance. One carried a sword too large for subtle work. The other had the restless eyes of a scavenger. They had likely crossed the border recently, desperate or stupid enough to hunt easy prey near Konoha. Then they saw him. A child. Alone. The scavenger grinned. Well, that's convenient. Naruto did not move. The swordsman looked around. Where are your parents, brat? Naruto stared at him. That answer was so broad it almost made him laugh. Busy, he said. The scavenger stepped closer. Maybe he's useful. Hostage, ransom, maybe worse. Naruto watched both of them the way a winter sky watched insects. The swordsman snorted. No witnesses. He raised the blade. Naruto saw every detail in perfect stillness. The rough wrapping on the hilt. The nick near the edge. The tiny shift of muscles before movement. The intention. The confidence. It was almost insulting. Slow motion took the world. Leaves drifted downward one by one. The stream whispered over stone. A bird launched from a branch nearby. Naruto lifted his eyes to the swordsman's face. Die. The man's body dropped before the sword completed its descent. No scream. No impact of battle. Just a corpse hitting leaves with a heavy, final thud. The scavenger froze. For one impossible second, his mind refused to process what he had seen. Then terror punched through confusion. What did you? Naruto looked at him. Pressure exploded through the clearing. The man stumbled backward, feet tangling in roots. Naruto took one step forward. Your courage. The man's face went white. His breathing broke instantly into ragged, childlike panic. He threw a kunai wildly and turned to run. Naruto tilted his head. Your left leg. The leg folded beneath the man as if the very concept of functioning joints had been revoked. Bone did not break. Muscle did not tear. It simply stopped being able to serve its purpose. The scavenger crashed to the ground and began screaming. Naruto approached slowly. The air around him felt colder now, heavier. Leaves near his sandals browned and curled as though proximity itself had become hazardous. The man clawed at the dirt, dragging himself away with pure terror. Naruto crouched beside him. What is your name? He asked. The man stared at him like he was looking into a human-shaped abyss. Please. Naruto placed a hand lightly on the man's shoulder. The touch was gentle. That frightened the missing nin even more. What is your name? Tetsu, please. Naruto nodded. Tetsu, he said softly. Look at me. The man obeyed without meaning to. Naruto's eyes were clear and empty and merciless. If I leave you alive, what will you do? Tetsu sobbed. I'll go, I'll leave, I won't come back. Naruto considered. Then he asked the system, can I kill memory? Not yet. Pity. He rose. Tetsu's face twitched with desperate hope. Naruto looked down at him and said, then I'll make something else die. Selective designation ready. Kill his desire to harm children. Confirmed. The effect was immediate. Tetsu gasped sharply, eyes widening as something invisible collapsed inside him. Not flesh. Not chakra. A pattern. A cruelty. A leaning of the soul. He began crying harder, but now the sound was different, broken, horrified, as if he had suddenly understood the weight of every vile instinct he had ever excused. Naruto turned away. Go. Tetsu dragged himself up and fled through the forest in blind terror, leaving the dead swordsman behind. Naruto stood alone in the clearing and listened to the woods breathe around him. Report, the voice said. New pathway opened, moral impulse termination. Limited. Growth required for complexity. Naruto looked at the corpse. Interesting. He could kill bodies. He could kill functions. One day he might be able to kill hatred itself. Or loyalty. Or fear. Or nations. The thought should have frightened him. It didn't. It felt natural. He looked toward the west where the sun was lowering beyond the trees. Then toward Konoha. Home, technically. A place that had given him shelter, a name, and years of emotional starvation. He thought of Minato correcting Nenma's stance. Kushina laughing with Naruto. The empty bowl. The careful phrases. The way their eyes slid past him when easier love was available. For the first time, Naruto didn't feel hurt by it. He felt free. Because now he understood a principle the world had hidden behind kindness and hierarchy and sentiment. Everything depended on conditions. Love. Power. Respect. Attention. Anything dependent on conditions could be controlled. And anything that could be controlled could be taken. By the time he returned home, the sky was dark. The lights were still on. Naruto entered quietly. Voices from the kitchen. The twins arguing about dessert. Kushina telling them to wash their hands. Minato talking about patrol schedules. Ordinary. Naruto removed his sandals. He walked toward the stairs. Naruto. He stopped. Minato stood in the hallway, arms crossed, expression mild. You're late. Naruto looked at him. I was training. Minato's brows rose slightly. Training? There it was again. That careful disbelief. Not harsh enough to call cruel. Just dismissive enough to reduce a child to background noise. Naruto answered evenly, yes. Minato exhaled through his nose. Well, next time tell someone. Your mother worries. Naruto almost smiled. Your mother worries. About what, exactly? That the spare child might inconvenience the household by vanishing without paperwork? But Naruto only nodded once. Understood. Minato studied him a moment longer, as if sensing some subtle shift he couldn't name. Then Naruto shouted from the kitchen, Dad. Menma took mine. Minato glanced away immediately. Coming. And there it was. Naruto resumed walking. 1 second of attention. Then gone. Predictable. Useful. In his room that night, he sat by the window and looked out over the village roofs. Report. Initial synchronization complete, the voice said. Host mentality compatible with authority growth. Next phase recommendation, infrastructure. Infrastructure? Secret base. Information routes. Training zone. Resource acquisition. Isolation conversion into advantage. Naruto's eyes moved toward the distant forest. A place that belonged only to him. A place no one would think to search because no one important ever bothered to wonder what he might be doing. He leaned back against the wall. Good. Then he closed his eyes, and for the first time since childhood, he began planning a future that did not depend on anyone choosing him. The next week changed everything. Not publicly. Publicly, Naruto remained the same underperforming academy student with flat eyes and forgettable presence. Privately, he became systematic. He mapped blind paths through the forest. He found an old underground bunker from a war long buried in village memory, half collapsed and swallowed by roots. He cleared it. Not with sweat alone. With precision. And rot. Mold vanished from the walls. And structural weakness in this beam. The wood steadied. And obstruction. Rubble dissolved into dust. The bunker slowly transformed into a hidden chamber deep beneath the earth, reachable only through a narrow cave entrance concealed behind heavy vines and a false rock face. Naruto worked in silence. No wasted motion. No unnecessary emotion. Each day he added more. A training area. Storage corner. A narrow sleeping space. A crude desk. Shelves for scrolls he hadn't stolen yet but intended to. The underground air smelled of stone, damp earth, and possibility. Optimization, the system announced one night. Isolation has been converted into strategic independence. Naruto touched the wall and felt the cold steadiness of it. Good. Above ground, the academy remained tedious. But people revealed things when they thought you were irrelevant. Teachers spoke too freely around him. Children gossiped without filtering themselves. Shinobi dismissed him outright. Naruto listened. He learned which merchants overcharged or bribed. Which clans distrusted each other. Which patrol routes left gaps near the eastern wall. Which abandoned sites the village no longer monitored. Information was everywhere. Respect simply determined who got to gather it without suspicion. One afternoon,